Thank you. We're going up to Distillery in Owensboro, Kentucky, Runaway June, and our friends, and we're looking forward to it. So you guys excited?
It's going to be fun. Oh yeah, ready to drink something. It's going to be fun.
I think bourbon would be what.
Yes.
Bourbon. Ready to drink bourbon. Whatever we can get our hands on.
I'm Jacob Call. I'm the Master Distiller, Director of Operations here at the Distillery. You're at a very historic site. Dates back to 1885. Burnt down in 1918. Yeah, rebuilt right after Prohibition, 1938. So all the brick buildings are 1938 era. The distillery was shut down in 1992. So when we bought it in 2014, it was my job to help bring it back to life. So that's what we did. So we'll check out grain. We'll show you the granary, the still house where we make bourbon, and then we'll go in the barrel rick house to see some barrels, and then barrel dumping, bottling, and come back and have lunch. Sound good? So this is our grain system. It's all a brand new state-of-the-art grain system. The way it works, the truck will come, they'll unload their corn, rye, or malted barley. It gets conveyed into the whole storage bins. We have 2 hammer mills. So we mill it to a flour type consistency. Then we convey it into our ground bins, and we have weigh scales that weigh out our recipe or our batch. We call that our mash bill. We do several different mash bills. We do high corn bourbons, high rye bourbons. We do rye whiskey. So we're pretty flexible. We're kind of proud of that. We buy all local Kentucky corn. We got our surprise mascot Batman. He's our cat. He may be in there. This is Jake Ranson. Jake's our grain operator for the day and trainer.
Good, how are you? Oh my God.
We're fully automated. Everything's touchscreen. You can see all of our bins. We can even see the distillery. Kind of pretty cool. Touch a button and mess a lot of things up. All right, we'll go in the still house. So this is my favorite graphic on our tour. So we're DSP Distilled Spirit Plant Kentucky 10. So we're the 10th oldest distillery in Kentucky. The new guys, Mixers, Angel's Envy, Bullet, their permit number's 20,000. So this is the still house. Those big stainless tanks, those are our mash cookers. We're kind of like a pressure cooker. We convey the corn and the rye in. We add water and we'll heat it up to 212 degrees, and it breaks all the starch down. Then we cool it and add malted barley, and the malt has a natural enzyme that converts the starch to sugar. Then we take it into our fermenter room where we add our yeast. It'll ferment for 3 days. It'll make an 8% alcohol beer. So we really make beer first. From there, it ends up in this big 54-inch beer still. It can do about 300 barrels of bourbon a day. And in there, we're really just concentrating the alcohol. We're stripping the beer alcohol from the mash. So it goes from 16 proof to 120 proof. From there, we pump it into this copper doubler, and we distill it again to 138 proof. And that's what's coming out there. Technically, yeah. So you can taste it. Take a little bit. It's 138 proof. So all bourbon starts out clear, wow, and it gets its color from the barrel. So still kind of sweet. Probably 50% of the flavor comes from the barrel. So this is our first distillation, so that's 120. It's still pretty rough. We'll pop in the control room real quick. This is David. David's one of our operators here. So David does the, looks like he's playing video games, but he's really, yeah, he's really moving product to and fro, steam pressure. He does the cooking, he does the distillation, he watches the fermenters. So pretty important job. Let's go over to the fermenters. Thanks, David. So pretty much everything is new but the walls. We started in 2015, and then we did our first distillation about a year later, September 2016. We just finished our last expansion and now we're at 90,000 barrels a year. And that makes us the 4th largest independent bourbon distillery in the world. So these are all kind of in a finished state. We'll distill these today. Our fermenters are 16,000 gallons. We'll get about 32 barrels from each fermenter. The bubbles that you see, the yeast eat the sugar and they have 2 byproducts. One's alcohol that we want, and then the other CO2 that gets vented off. They have cooling coils inside, so we can manipulate the temperature. Remember, we only want the alcohol, so all this spent leftover grain we have to do something with, and we give that away to farmers for cattle feed. And we actually have so much that we bought a 1,000-acre farm about an hour from here. We have our own cows that we feed stillage to. We have our own bees that we use in our honey-flavored products. So we're going to go in a barrel house, rick house, show you some barrels. We had a solar eclipse come through about 2 years ago, so we did a little special. This is the epicenter of the eclipse, and we had a local artist paint. That's supposed to be Bill Monroe playing the mandolin, Blue Moon of Kentucky, because Owensboro is the bluegrass capital of the world, where Bill Monroe's from. We got a big bluegrass museum and center. Yeah, just outside of Owensboro. We have a big bluegrass festival called Romp. Like 25,000 people come to it, and we roll out barrels and we let people sign on them, and we'll probably bottle it one day. We are in Rickhouse A. It holds 20,000 barrels. Each barrel weighs about 500 pounds when they're full. When this warehouse is full, it holds 10 million pounds of weight. And there's some rules to be bourbon. Has to be made with at least 51% corn in the mash bill or the recipe. Has to come off our still below 160 proof. It has to go into a brand new charred oak barrel every single time. It's bourbon the second that it hits the barrel, but to be Kentucky bourbon, it has to be distilled and aged in Kentucky for a year and a day. To be straight bourbon is 2 years. This is barrel filling. We fill 300 barrels a day here. Some of them we do on pallets. These are called top fill. See how we fill them in the top? A lot of them in the warehouses where our side fills, so they'll have the bung in the side. So yeah, we're growing so fast we can't build those traditional ones quick enough. So we build palletized and we'll throw them on. Not really. We have 4 bottling lines in Charleston, South Carolina. We have another facility there. So this line is not real fast, but it's flexible. We do a lot of different shapes and sizes of bottles here. Walk over to barrel dumping. So this is where we dump the barrels at, and this is some of the char that I was talking about. So this is what's inside of the barrel, and it flakes off after a while. Okay, and we have a bunch of stainless steel screens that filter the char out. We have another filter, and then eventually it ends up in our tanks. Yeah, we sell that in our gift shop, our char. Yeah, people like it for their grills.